Joining me on DIRTRACKR Conversation, sprint car driver Zach Hampton. Zach, you are one of these guys. Obviously, I've known about you for a long time, but I feel like here within the last maybe year or two, as your kind of social media stuff kind of seemed to ramp up a little bit more. I started kind of paying more attention to you. But um, for somebody who doesn't know who you are, and I feel like I don't really know much about your background, talk to me about when you started racing and why this was something you wanted to do. Do you have racing in your family? Like, what does that look like?
So I started when I was 5. Like I started in quarter midgets, and I've raced my whole life. There wasn't anyone in our family that raced. My dad, he's an electrical contractor now. Back then, he was still just an electrician. He did a side job for a guy, and his daughter raced quarter midgets. We went and checked him out one time, and then, we both were kind of into it. So I started in 2004, I guess, would have been my first year. I did that till probably 2010-ish. Then I ran micros for a few years and got a midget when I was like not the winter before I was 14. So whatever, 2013 maybe, 2014. I ran that kind of probably like 20 times a year for 2-3 years. And then when I was 17, I ran a 305 for a guy here in Indiana. And my dad was kind of over it. We traveled so much. And so he sold our midgets. And I won like the third race in that deal. And then like 2 weeks later, got fired. So I didn't race for probably 3-4 years, really. I ran like, that 3-4 years, I ran like 3 midget races for Kenny Irwin. And I ran like 4 wing 360 races. And then 2019, while I was running that 360, I bought a roller myself off Brian Paulus, no motor, just a roller. Talked my dad into buying a 12 head for me, which was like $7,000. And I went to Attica with it like 3 months after I bought it, and it burned it down. It was a non-wing motor, burned it down. So I didn't race for 3 months, probably 4 months. And the Sunday before Knoxville Nationals, I went and bought All Pro from Brad Loyette. And Monday I got out of class in an apprenticeship, put it in, loaded up on an open trailer, and Tuesday morning I left for the Nationals. So the 2019 Nationals was my first wing 410 race. I ran like a 2-day All-Star show at Atomic after that year, and then 4 Crown weekend. And then 2020 I ran like 25 races. 2021 same. 22 I had Rob Hart. I think we almost hit 50 races, but I think it was like 48, 49. And then this past year is where I kind of got more on social media. Like I've always been on there, just never really posted. I'm not big with social media. But I felt like I know it's valuable. Like you kind of have to now. So I'm not really good at it, but I tried to get better. And then I think I got 39 races in this past year, which I would say this past year is definitely my best year, even though there's still some struggles.
Why winged racing and not non-wing racing? I mean, a kid from Indiana, you would think that non-wing and, USAC and that would be the direction you want to go, but you end up with a wing on. Why did that happen?
Even in micros, like we just ran wing because we ran power eye a lot, and we took the wings off a couple times, and like we did okay, but I just didn't enjoy it as much. And then I have ran 2 non-wing 410 races. The first one, I was running a 360, and that car I bought from Paulus, I had that guy's 360 motor in it. I ran Lima Land Friday, and then Saturday morning at like, I don't know, it was probably 10, 11 because I drove back from Lima. Probably got home at like 4 a.m. I came down to wash, and Paulus was here and had pulled the 360 out and had just got one of his 410s back and put it in and said we were going to Putnamville because he wanted to shake his motor down. So we went to Putnamville and ended up running like 4th. I think we started 9th or 8th and ran 4th. And then we got rained out at like Jacksonville in 2021. So I showed up to Bloomington at a USAC show. And Kevin Thomas Jr. gave me a front axle and like a right rear wheel and tire, since that's different. And we were pretty good. I think I qualified like 7th, and then I wasn't aggressive in the heat, just kind of let guys go, and got into whatever, behind someone in the B, went to the tail, was almost back to a transfer and just was running it like I had a wing on top, like curved up Bloomington and backed it off the back. And like when it got to the grass, it caught and, I tore it up pretty good. And I don't know, I don't enjoy it. Like, it's more exciting to watch if, like you're a fan and you like sliders and close racing and like constant lap after lap. I'd say it's more exciting, but to drive, I just don't think it's as fun. Like, I feel like you do more waiting than you do like driving the car.
That makes sense. I feel like one of the reasons why I started following you a little bit more and paying attention to your social media is, the videos you would post of like, you're like working by yourself in the shop. And I feel like, and even just talking, to you for a few minutes ahead of time, you're just like the grinder, right? And I feel like, we've been spending so much time lately talking about the top of sprint car racing, right? High limit, outlaws, who's going where, Brad Sweet, Kyle Larson, like all these guys. But I feel like the bulk of racers are like you, right? Like they're grinding it out. They're trying to figure out how to make it all work. They're trying to get to the racetrack every week. But why do you think it was important for you to show, what it was that you were going through each week, through some of that stuff on your social media?
I think the biggest reason I started was like, I just, like last year, anyone who saw my name on social media was probably not anything positive associated to it. Like, I think I had to have been the most hated sprint car driver, not because I necessarily wrecked other people, just like, I did wreck a fair amount last year. And there was a lot of times I'll die on the hill that a lot of them weren't my fault, other than I either sucked in qualifying or made mistakes in the heat or whatever. And I put myself back in positions where I'm with other guys who maybe don't have full grasp of what they're doing, so I just put myself in bad situations. But it was just, like I kind of got tired of that. And I felt like if maybe people understood more of what I put into it, then, like I don't look like, just some kid with a bunch of money that's coming and tearing stuff up. So that was the biggest thing. And like when I was doing that completely on my own early in the year, like I was supposed to have Rob again for this past season. And come like March, he just kind of, like wasn't, didn't feel like we were on the same page and whatnot. So like a week and a half before we were supposed to go to the first race was when he had quit. So I was like kind of, whatever, completely in the air with what I was doing. And I think the first 6 weeks, I just had random people come help. Like the first weekend I ran, Paulus came up from South Carolina and helped me. The next weekend, my buddy who runs 360s in Louisiana came to Peevely to help. And we actually had a pretty good night. And, after that, like I had some buddies in Missouri. I went to the Outlaw show at Granite City, and they could come to that, but they weren't going to be able to go to Hobstadt. So I was like, I'll just run Friday. And then the Vermeer guys were like, hey, we'll help you at the car wash, whatever. And then that kind of didn't work out. So I found a car wash I could back the trailer up to, and then just unloaded and then used the mule to pull it back in. And Casey, Kane wrecked that night or Friday night. So Saturday morning, I just went and stayed. I had the toter, so I just stayed in the parking lot where a lot of the Outlaw teams were. And one of their guys came down, Peyton Grice came down and helped me out, and then he helped me at Hobstadt. So it was just me and him. And I don't know, I just felt like people would appreciate that. There's really only two people that I feel like do the social media side of it right. That's Gravel, and obviously Tanner Holmes is, by far the best at it. But, I just felt like it was important to kind of get that out there and maybe help people understand me or what I was doing a little bit better.
Do you think it worked?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, other than, a couple burner accounts this year, like there's not any really negative feedback, at least that I saw. I would say 4 or 5 times the amount of people come up to the trailer, buy t-shirts or talk to me or, just tell me how much they appreciate it. Even other teams or guys at teams, would come up and just tell me, how much they respected it, whatever. So I think it did. Obviously not as much as I would have liked because I'm still looking for a ride, but Yeah, I definitely think it did work, and I probably could have still done a lot better at it. I just there's only so much time or whatever trying to film and whatnot when you're actually trying to get stuff done is not always the easiest.
How does like a typical week look for you where you're like by yourself and trying to like get to a show on a Friday or Saturday? Like, I mean, are you just working in the shop all weekend and things turned around? Like, what does a typical week look like for you during the season?
Yeah, so honestly, I got Ayrton Olson, who I would have never made it through the season without him. But I picked him up probably like the first weekend was Let's Race 2. And the first, up until the million, all he did was come on the weekend. So like he would show up to the shop if I was like, hey, I need to pull, we need to leave at 9. He'd get here at 9, and I was already usually loaded and whatnot. So, um, but let's say I raced Friday, Saturday, and it's never close for me. So I'm either getting home at 4 a.m. Sunday morning, or if it was, say I'm at Knoxville, I'm just going to sleep and leave Sunday morning. So usually Sunday, get home. If I got home at 4, like I'd sleep for a few hours, get up 9, 10, wash Sunday, and then wipe everything down. Usually, clean the trailer out, like just clean was all Sunday. Monday, usually first thing is motor maintenance. That way, if something's wrong, you have time, whatever, to fix it. And when I'm by myself, usually I would say like motor maintenance and then getting like all the bars out, the torque tube off the ball. Like I kind of just tear down and start cleaning up. And then Tuesdays, like put that stuff back together. Wednesdays might be like tire work, and just some more cleaning, reorganizing, getting stuff stocked back up. And then I would say usually like Thursday, if I'm planning on racing Friday again, and whether I got to leave Thursday night or Friday morning, like Thursdays, I'm probably done by like noon, 1 o'clock. If I do my stuff right, like I'll go get fuel at some point, fill my drums, bring them back, um, whatever, so like I'm usually done by Thursday. I like to be loaded up the day before, and then like usually when I'm by myself, if the drive is more than 5 hours to the track, I would leave Thursday night at like 9 o'clock, I'd get 2-3 hours down the road, or I'd just leave at 7 and drive all the way there, and be able to sleep in Friday, wake up later and, be fresher late in the night.
Knowing you have limited resources, how do you decide where to race? Like, I mean, are you just trying to stay within a certain geographical area? Or are you trying to hit like, okay, well, if I go run here, I can maybe make the outlaw feature. If I go this way, I can make the MOA show. Like, how do you decide week to week where you're going to race?
Honestly, for me, like there's a lot of factors. I think it's nice to be able to pick and choose. So number one is, is it going to rain, right? Because that sucks. Like to drive, say it's 5 hours one direction. Like I'm going to burn up 500, 6, whatever, just in diesel. So like that's the first thing I look at. And sometimes I won't decide till Wednesday or Thursday which direction. I've got like a list. Here's possibilities. Second factor is definitely, do I like that place? Like, I would say payout is important. Like I've obviously, I think most people probably saw the stuff, whatever, when everyone was complaining about the Ohio stuff. I had some, whatever, like Ohio's tough to race in, at least when you got to drive 4 or 5 hours to get there, like that's just, the payout's horrible. We ran like 11. We went like 23rd to 11th when the Tusky rained out this year. We knew it was going to rain Saturday, so we just went. We're heading home, and we're like, you know what? Let's just go to Fremont. We were like 22nd to 11th, and it was like $365, and it's like 300 to start. So it's like just not whatever. And we burnt like 3 right rears, 4 left rears, and a set of fronts off. I mean, it's just horrible. So like those are the main ones, and then I think this year I tried to put more like IRA or MOA or a Power Eye. I tried fast. I tried to mix in some stuff where like I can definitely, I'm a podium car or top 5 at worst, and just get like some more seat time where you're not like on the ragged edge to run 12.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not 110%.
I feel like in like talking to you and knowing that you are trying to do the things you're doing and seeing some of your results, I'm reminded of there's like a saying in golf where it's like a slot machine, right? Like it pays you out just enough to keep you coming back.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you feel that way about sprint car racing.
Yeah, like I always joke about it. Like I love when, anyone, fans, whatever, like, oh, are you doing this full time? Yes. Oh man, you're so lucky. Yeah, and you are. Like this is my dream. But like it's usually 20 bad nights, for a good night. Unless you're one of the top guys. Like for everyone else, it really only, it only takes one, um, to keep you coming back for more. But um, yeah, I don't know that it's. I mean, it is like that for me, but it's not. I've had stretches where it was 50 bad ones, and not really a good one. So, um, it's kind of, I don't know. You have to love it. Like you see so many guys in and out of the sport so quick. Um, you really really like you have to want it, or it's tough because it's a lot of work even for a team with three guys. It's you're overworked, underpaid, underappreciated, um, arguing. You spend that much time with the same people, especially in a truck or a hotel room. Like you're gonna argue over the dumbest stuff. So it is tough, but
What are those races this year that were the ones that keep you coming back?
obviously the fast show at Circle City. That's like not like other than Putnamville, which unfortunately I didn't get to run this year. It was the closest race to home for me, and we were able to win. So like actually having my sponsors able to come, my parents who maybe make it to 2 or 3 races a year were there. That was one of them. Um, Nationals, our results really didn't show how good we were. We kind of messed up. Put a new tire on for the heat on Friday, and that screwed us because we couldn't go out. So we were on Hard Knocks night. We're dead last after the heat races. So like C main to B main, and then like plus 12 or 13 in the B main, and then like ninth to second in the D on Saturday, and then 22nd to I don't know 11th in the C. Like we were really fast. Just didn't have just screwed up on Friday. That was one, and then 2 weeks later at championship night, like if you would have told me after the 10th time I was at Knoxville that I'd ever lead laps there, I would have told you were crazy, and we were like seventh quick, fifth or sixth in the heat to like third. Ended up starting on the pole, led like the first 10 laps, and then ran third until like lap 22 on a late restart, but that was really, really, really good. Honestly, every time I went to Eldora was one. Like I was really good at Eldora this year. The All-Star race um, was one. Um, and then, like there's a lot of IRA races. I think I ran second 5 times this year, which sucks. Those are the ones that keep you coming back, is running second. Um, but yeah, I had a lot of good ones this year. The All Star race at Jacksonville, I stepped on it. Eighth to third in the feature and just stepped on it, and that one sucked. But those are the nights where like you're really fast and you're good, and maybe you make a mistake, whatever. Like those are the ones I think you chase the most. Like I think the most enjoyable part about wing racing to me is like the technicality and how difficult it is, and just so many variables and things that you have to do right and that have to go right for you. So it's just such a challenge.
How, like I know you're at a point right now where you're trying to figure out what you're going to do next year, and like talk me through the decision making process to try to branch out and like knowing that you've probably reached the ceiling with your own stuff. Like how do you make that decision now to be like, all right, like I know I'm not going to go where I want to go with just running my own deal, like I got to go somewhere else. Like how do you make that decision?
It's tough because like it's really hard to go. Like if the opportunity is not there, I just won't do it. Right? Like like that's the hardest thing. I mean, it's like quitting any addiction. Times 10. So it's really tough. I know anything short of basketball or something that height's involved in, like anything I decide to do with my life, like I can succeed in. So, and I don't want to be someone who just is, stagnant and just um, going with the motions, right? So, I think to me, it's just important that I just don't want to, I don't want to be stuck. If I'm stuck, then it's time to, just, move on. Like I'll be 26 in March, so I'm gonna get kicked off insurance, whatever. Like it's time to, either figure it out, or do something uh, more productive for myself. So it's definitely tough, and it sucks. I hope I can make something happen. Um, but it's just kind of one of those things you just got to be prepared to walk away if it's not right.
What does that look like right now? I mean, are you able to bring money to a deal? Are you going to sell your stuff and use that money? Like, what are owners looking for? Is there a certain area you're trying to race in? Like, what does that whole process just look like right now?
There's not a certain area. I mean, there's certain areas I'd rather race in, right? Like honestly, I would love to spend a year at Knoxville, even if there's like a Knoxville Houston thing. Central Pennsylvania is really good. I mean, hell, I'd move to California. So I would say like right now I'm not selling anything because it's more like what's a car owner, what's somebody looking for, right? Does somebody have motors, and we can use my cars? Does somebody have cars and whatnot, but they need motors? Like I've got obviously a trailer, whatever. Like depending on what someone else was, bringing to a deal or what I was bringing, right? Like I would say that would decide what I'm willing to bring or how much. Money, I'm not a fan of the like writing a check because I just feel like that's so messy. I mean, it's messy if you start intermixing too much things too. But like if I could find somewhere like I'm bringing 3 motors, right? That's very simple. If things go south, these 3 motors are mine. Like the engine builder can say, that's his, whatever, but if you write a 50,000 or 100,000, whatever the check amount is, and things go south in April, it's just going to be a tit for tat. No, we spent this on this. No, you don't get that back. Like I just feel like somebody's getting screwed. Those are the deals you always hear about, somebody getting screwed. So I don't know. It's more of a, right now I'm just, what can I bring? I mean, obviously I'd rather bring nothing if I find something, but I do have things that I can bring, and most likely I'd have to use, even if I was bringing motors, like my sponsorship money, if I have to move, well, now I do have more expenses, I got to pay rent, whatever. So I would use some of that money to help more or less myself get there, and be there so that said team doesn't have to, I can race for less, right? I can ask for less on a pay side of things.
Do you feel like it's gonna go well? Do you have any indication right now of where you are?
Uh, it's tough. I mean, I've talked to a few people. There's one that's still like, well, there's a few that aren't, no's. The one I really don't have a good feeling about, which, I don't know. I'm kind of surprised, honestly. I feel like when you're looking at take the A teams out, right? All the traveling full-time teams, and take all the A drivers out, you know. Um, as far as like a local or a regional area, like I really think even just as a driver, I should be towards the top of the list. And I can bring so much more to that than that it's kind of surprising some of the guys that like I've gone after a ride even this past year, and the guy who gets hired, you know, not like to me is not as even as good as a driver as me, let alone has, knowledge or can bring what I could bring, even money and objects aside, could bring what I could bring to a team. So I don't know. It's not going as well as I'd like. I'd like to have my stuff figured out right now. It's just not how it's unfolded, and I don't know. Like there's a million reasons car owners have their reasons, and why they want this guy or that guy, and it's not always about money or talent or whatever. So I know it's tough, and there's so many drivers and only so many cars, so it's it's tough, especially when there's guys like Schoenberg, who I'm really good buddies with, who's, not, doesn't have anything right now, right? Like he's definitely, if I was a car owner, I'd pick him over me. Um, he's got way more experience. He's older. He's got, he's probably, he's going to finish better, probably 8 times out of 10, etc. So it's just it's a tough market to try and be a professional anything, like athlete, or if you consider race car drivers athletes, which I do. It's just tough.
What do you like? What is the process for trying to figure out or find rides? Like, is it, are you paying attention to social media, or is it phone calls, and text messages? Like, what does that process look like of trying to just track something down?
Yeah, I mean, it's, call, like I'll call anybody, right? Like, I mean, I went after rides this year that I knew weren't going to hire me. Um, but you have to, right? And there's a lot of people that I've met that have, been around a long time that, might feed you this or that, or like, Kim and All's one, he knows, Brian knows a lot of people, and he's always been good to me. Like, we're good buddies. So I've talked, I talked to him, hey, can you think of anyone, or if you hear of anything, whatever, so you just kind of put feelers out, and then, get whoever's number you can, car owners, et cetera, whatever. And honestly, I'll text or call and they tell me to, F off, right? Like, I mean, until you tell me no, like, if you don't reply or you're just roundabout, like, I'm going to keep texting you, until you tell me not to. So, I try not to every day, right? You don't want to bug them too much, but, like, I don't know, you just keep sending text, eventually, it might just be the, 15th time, that you ask it. They're like, man, sure, just to get you to shut up, so, I don't know, maybe I need to find out better ways of doing it, because it's not working right now, but, it's not been from a lack of reaching out to people.
Do you think the social media post helps to come out and be like, hey, like, I'm just going to be honest here and I'm looking for a ride?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you could, people see it both ways, but I only see it as, I don't see how it could hurt me, right? Like, this is where I'm at, like, I feel like I'm the people inside, like actually inside the racing circle, not, not to like disclude the fans or whatever, but the people actually inside, owners, crew guys, drivers, whatever, like, they know who I am. I'm a respectful name. Like, I don't screw people over. I pay them, whatever. Like, I'm at least somebody. So to just, I don't know. I feel like people would respect that I'm just open. Like, hey, this is where I'm at, and I need help moving forward. If anyone wants to help do that, like, I'm all ears. I think it has to help. I mean, I haven't had much come of it, but I don't think it hurt.
What is the Zach Hampton sales pitch, the elevator pitch right now? Like, what are you telling owners? What are you bringing? What does the resume look like? Just like run me through, like, I'm an owner here and you want my ride.
Honestly, like, I'm not good at, I would say, selling myself. Like, I'm not good at just blatant lies, which, like, I mean, honestly, like, that's, most drivers are like, oh, that guy sucks, you should hire, like, hire me. That's how so many guys have gotten rides, right? Like, you just get in a car in his ear and, like, keep chirping away that they're no good, you do better, whatever. And I'm just, like, I'm not that guy, like, I know where I'm at, and maybe I think of myself a little bit higher than, other people, but, you know, I don't know. I, I know, given the opportunity to run somewhere that has good equipment, even a mediocre crew chief, somewhere where I can mostly focus on the driving part. Um, I know I can compete. I know I got bashed in like February or March. I did Turn Two Terribles podcast, and I said, like, honestly, like, if I came out to Central PA just with my stuff, I'm a top 10 car, and you put me in one of the decent cars, like, I'm a 8 times out of 10, I'm a top 5 car, like because they do have good guys, but I think it's, overplayed. I think they have 5 really good guys, and they get split amongst the tracks, and then I think you saw a lot less winners this year because the handicap was going away a little bit. And like that was a big reason you got so many different winners all those years. And they do have the biggest pool of like good drivers, but I think racing at those tracks every week for 5 years doesn't correlate or mean the same as like someone who's ran every racetrack I go to is a new racetrack almost. I race everywhere. I race with the All Stars. I race with the Outlaws. So I just have more experience against not only better drivers, but, like more of them, not just the same. So I don't know. I think I, adapt better or have, maybe better practices. But I don't know. I'm honestly, I'm not great at selling myself. I should be better. I need to be better, for this line of work, but I've just never really been good at that. I always just felt like if I was good enough, like I would get a ride or, even if it's not racing anything, right? Like if you're good enough at it, you should get it on merit. I shouldn't have to explain why I'm better than this guy or that guy. I would hope I just could, had proven that.
Like, what is worst case scenario at this point? Like, is it, if you don't get picked up, are you prepared to run your stuff again? Are you not prepared to run your stuff again? Like, did you do this profitably this last season? Like, can you do it profitably in the future? Like, how do you look at all of that?
No, it's definitely not profitable. Like I would say 75% of the money spent is family money. And the car doesn't earn, when you're not running top 5 at the Crown Jewels, no team is profitable, other than the Shark team and probably not even Gravel's team, like really aren't. I don't know. There's not very many that are profitable other than, the Kane and Stewart because they're getting, and Brown, if you're getting $1.5 million in sponsorship, yeah, you're going to be profitable. But I would say for the most part, like outside of those top teams, they're not profitable. Like even Rudine, right? Because he just funds it all himself. Like that's not a profitable race team. They've made the car earned a lot of money this year, but not even close to enough. So I don't know. I mean, there's the Maverick deal coming to Indy, and there's some other races in Indy. I absolutely hate living in Indy and not going to a wing race that's in Indiana. I feel like I have to support those events. So, if it's possible, I will go run one of those, or some of them. I just, I kind of got to see how things unfold and, what I want to do, what my parents are thinking. I think the economy is probably not quite as good as people think it is. I know it's, going south just off, my dad's business and what he's told me, like jobs are getting hard to get. So I think it's lasted longer than most people expected, the good or whatever, the inflated good, the bubble. But I think that's going to play a big factor into what a lot of people are doing.
You did a video on your Twitter account here not that long ago, which I called the Zach Hampton podcast, where you kind of talked about all of the high limit outlaw stuff that's going on. And now that we're kind of even a little further, like what are your overall thoughts on it? Like, do you think this is good for sprint car racing? Like, obviously we can't predict the future, but where do you maybe think this is going? And how do you feel about all of it?
I think it's really good. Like they're doing a lot of things that, are the same, but they're just, I guess, being more flexible, whatever, and I think competition's good. Like that's pretty much what America's built on, so I think that aspect of it's good. I think once kind of whatever I don't know if there is bad blood. I feel like there has to be, obviously behind the scenes there's fighting over regions or tracks or whatever. I think once that kind of blows over and things mellow out, it'll be so much better even for the race fans. In the sense of like they'll have more options throughout the year to go see a premier, to see these premier drivers race. Um, so I think that's really good. I think you're going to get a bigger variety. You know, like I think you see a lot of states and tracks that weren't on a touring series, or like there's great tracks I've never even heard of that are on these schedules. So I think that's really good. I think it's going to branch out a lot. I think it gives people options. It forces both of them to kind of, you know, up the purses, up their toe, their, you know, whatever, all the things they're doing to get teams and keep teams. It bumps that up. So I think it's good. I think there's going to be a transition period that maybe some places struggle, or, you know, like one of them struggles, whatever, you know, like there's going to be some downsides to it in the beginning, but I think, you know, 3 years from now, it'll be great.
Do you think, like, you know, if you were one of these full-time teams right now and you're trying to figure out which side you're going to go, you know, do you like the freedom on the high limit side and some of the stuff they've offered? You know, do you want to be a full-time outlaw driver if that was, you know, something, you know, do you not mind the bigger schedule and some of that stuff? Like, you know, where would you fall right now?
If someone called me today, said, "Hey, I'll give you $1.5 million to go run next year, choose whatever," I'm going out. I'd go Outlaws. Because high limit didn't exist when I was 12 years old, like watching all the outlaw races. Like I always wanted to be an outlaw, right? Like that was always the dream. So that would be reason number one. And two, now that I've seen who's on each schedule, I don't know why you even why go high limit racing. Like you've got twice as many and just as good of cars, you know. So out you get, and the whole freedom thing, you get freedom, but like you kind of don't if you're running the schedule, right? Like you still have to be there for the points, or it doesn't make sense. So you know, other than you get to go run the crown jewels, but as an outlaw you already get to run the crown jewels other than the Tusky. So I mean, I definitely get, you know, outlaw teams wanting to be able to go run whenever they want to run and yada yada. I understand that, but I'm shocked they even got their 4 races. Like if I was World Racing Group, I wouldn't have even given them 4, because it's the whole brand is built on exclusivity. So I don't know, but I would definitely go Outlaws. I love the high limit deal. I like what they're doing. I think it's great, but they're kind of the same pay. You know, they're going to have the same format pretty much, which I do think is the best format. Hate inverts. So I don't know. I mean, I think they're actually pretty similar, other than with high limit, you could go run 10 extra races rather than 4, so that you can hit all the crown jewels, which the outlaw guys are already going to be at.
That's one thing I feel like I've kind of learned here in the last kind of few months in like talking to drivers and seeing drivers interviewed, and it definitely seems to me like there's like a disconnect between what the drivers and the teams think and what the fan base thinks. And like even like hearing Gio Scelzi talk about, you know, the outlaws and the exclusivity stuff and how he was like, I thought 4 races was great for us to be able to go run outside of it. And everybody, you know, you hear the fans talk about it, and it's like the worst thing in the world that they can only go run 4 races. But it's like, do you think that the schedules are too long? I feel like that's like something else we've heard through a lot of this, is that it's like, oh, I want to go run high limit so I can run less races. It's like after rainouts and stuff, you're only going to run 70 shows with the Outlaws anyway. You know, if you go run, you know, the 60 race high limit schedule, they're going to run 50. So then you're going to go tack on 10 or 12 shows anyway. I just like, is the size of the season matter? I just, those are things that I can't seem to kind of make heads or tails of.
You know, like if we're in a world where money's no issue, right? Like I'd run 170. You know, like I get that some guys don't want to, you know, but like you don't have to. You know, like the guys who are, it's kind of crazy because it's flip-flopped, right? Like the outlaw schedule used to be like 90 scheduled or 100 something scheduled. And then everyone was like, oh, we don't want to race this much. We never get to see our family. So they started knocking it down. Now all of a sudden, oh, we don't get to race enough. You won't let us race. You know, so I don't know. I don't get it, right? Like you've got, oh, we're racing too much. But then, well, we want to go race and we can't because you guys won't let us race more than 4 races. So honestly, I don't know. Like you talked about my podcast or whatever, and I think it comes down to like 9 times out of 10, racers are going to find something to bitch and moan about. So if it's 90 races, oh, this is too many. If it's 60, this isn't enough. And there's no Goldilocks zone. 75, there would just be another problem. So I don't know. That's how I see it. If you don't want to race 80 times a year, don't race 80 times a year. You don't have to.
Yeah. So like, what are we looking at here for you now coming up in the coming weeks? Like, are you going to try to get stuff together? Are you still just beating the pavement and the phones, trying to figure something out? Like, what is your next, obviously once we get past the holidays and stuff and we're into the first of the year, like, what does your next couple of months look like?
So I've been doing some stuff with Schoenberg. He bought a dry ice blasting machine. So he started, we're doing like underbellies of old like classic vehicles, mostly trucks, whatever. And it takes off all the like undercoating they put on. And it kind of sucks. Like it's dirty and it takes like 8-10 hours to do a truck. But that's what I've been doing for some money to eat and whatnot. And then just picking up odd jobs here and there. Like if my dad's got somebody who needs some side electrical work done, I was in the apprenticeship for like 3.5 years. So I can do a fair amount of electrical work. So I do some of that, whatever, for money. And then I've kind of been tinkering on my stuff here and there. I'm gonna, no matter what, like I'm gonna have a car or two built, like I would for any other season. By the time March comes around, my stuff would be ready to race if I wanted to race it, or I find somebody with money that wants me to race it, whatever. So I would say, the next few weeks, like I'm going to Schoenberg tomorrow. We're doing another truck, and then I'm gonna do some more as he, gets more guys who want their trucks done, and just do some odd jobs, work on my stuff, keep trying to talk to people. And then I'm going to Chili Bowl, so I'll leave whatever the Saturday, the load-in day. I'll leave that morning, and I am selling my toter. It's getting a few things fixed up right now, and then I'm gonna sell it. So I'm gonna list it. Hopefully I can find somebody that wants to buy it that's going to Chili Bowl, because I'm gonna drive it down and just stay in it. To save myself some money, and then hopefully I can just get a rental to come home if somebody buys it down there. And then after Chili Bowl, I would say after Chili Bowl, like if I don't have something really in the works, I'm gonna look at doing something different, whether that's work for another team. Like obviously I can, as far as working on a sprint car, getting a team up and down the road, I've done it with my own team. So there's nothing I'm incapable of. So I think I'd even be a good, crew guy. Either do that or, Hunter's trying to talk me into buying a dry ice machine myself and us do some more with that, maybe bid some industrial stuff, whatever. So, I don't know. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. If racing isn't going to work out, but I know, there's lots of things I can choose from. And I think I can be successful at just about anything, shy of being an NBA player, if I want to.
What are you doing for Chili Bowl? Who are you driving for there?
Driving for Mark Birch, the Team Jack Foundation car. So I know Don Stroud Jr. is in the other one. And then I can't remember who's in the third car. Honestly, I haven't paid probably as much attention as I have or should have been. But I know I'm going down there Saturday with my seat and supposed to put it in. So I know Nicole Signer, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but out of Pennsylvania, she's doing some press release stuff. So people can be expecting that to come out. I know I filled out some forms and Don did. So they're doing some stuff there. So that'll be cool. I'm excited. I think the last time I ran Chili Bowl was 2016 maybe. I've only ran it 2 years. I ran it when I was 16 and 17. So I'm excited. I'm not going to go try to light the midget world on fire. Have some fun, rip as good a laps as I can, stay out of the massive amount of wrecks there'll be, and just have a good time and enjoy a week of racing when I would normally be up here in the snow in Indiana.
Well, Zach Hampton, I will let you go. I certainly appreciate the time today. If somebody wants to buy a Zach Hampton t-shirt like I have worn on the Daily Show, where can they get one?
35. I would just go to my Twitter because I don't know the whole
Okay.
URL. But it's on my Twitter, which is Zach_Hampton35.
Okay.
It's on there. I think it might even be linked to like my Instagram, my Facebook, which is Zach Hampton on Facebook, Zach.Hampton on Instagram. I think it's linked on all of those. But yeah, it's a Shopify page. It's kind of a long URL.
Are you going to have stuff at the Chili Bowl if people want to buy shirts?
I am going to take some stuff. I probably won't take everything in case I have to get a rental car and come back. But I'm going to at least take a tub, probably, I don't know, a dozen of each size. So I will have stuff there. I don't know where I can put it. I'll have some at the trailer. I would say I'll have a small tote at the trailer and then just keep the rest out in the toter and bring it in as I need. But yeah, I'll have my 2023 shirts, my koozies. I'll have my hero cards with me, stuff like that. I might take some wing boards. I've got, I don't know, 6 or 7 like top wing sideboards from the last 2-3 years that I really need to get rid of. So I might take some stuff like that as well.
All
right.
But
I'll definitely have some.
If people come see you, tell them DIRTRACKR sent you, and
I will.
We'll try to help you sell some stuff.
Yeah, I'll try to get them. I'll get them a 2-for-1 on a DIRTRACKR shirt or something.
All right, dude. Well, thank you for the time today, and I appreciate you coming on and having a chat with me.
Yeah, I appreciate it.